and welcome to the End in Mind podcast. I'm your host, Caitlin, the owner of Meraki Media Management. The End in Mind is a place where we come to share stories, tips, and strategies of many entrepreneurs, creatives, business owners, and just some people that aren't willing to live the traditional lifestyle. We talk about how to live outside of the box today and how to incorporate what really is important in your life to keep that end goal always in mind. Again, if you would like to reach out to me in any type of way, you can find me on Instagram at Meraki_media_management. And I hope to hear from you all soon. Thanks so much and enjoy our show. What is up, party people? Welcome back to the End in Mind podcast. This is our first solo episode after our 100th episode, and I just want to thank you all so much for your continued support on the show and on social media, and I am just so grateful for you guys. So if you have something that you want to announce for your business, I want you to take a screenshot of this episode, tag me, add any information about your exciting news or something that you even just want to celebrate together. Tag me on Instagram, I'll reshare it to my story, and we can continue to celebrate because you guys know I am celebrating all my way through 2023. I have so many exciting things that I want to share with you guys. A lot of them are still in the works, so I can't share them all just yet. But a lot of what we talked about this week on Instagram, which is a lot of what we talk about here on the End in Mind as well, was about scarcity. So if you don't follow us on Instagram, definitely head over and check out my page. Sometimes I share different tips that I'm sharing like verbally with you guys here, just because I'm writing that content after I record these 99% of the time. So sometimes I will add in, different stories or different areas of tips that may benefit you all if you're also listening to the show. So my Instagram is linked in the show notes below. Head over, hang out with me, send me a DM. Let's chill over there as well. That's my most utilized platform, so you can always connect with me over there. And this week, I shared with you guys a story actually about what happened to me a few weekends ago when I was actually at my cousin's wedding shower. So what's really funny about being in business and also doing your healing journey, which I know so many of you are also on, is that really the stars just start to align. So these past few weeks, you guys, I can't even tell you, like, the heavens literally opened up every time I would face a challenge or kind of ask like God or universe, like, what am I supposed to do next? Or what does this mean, right? Where am I supposed to go with this information? Literally, the universe dropped a solution in my lap within 48 hours. So it's just been amazing to experience, and it's really showing me that I'm living my life in alignment, like in full alignment of who I am. The universe is seeing it. It's showing me through signs. I am seeing it, my family is seeing it, people around me have this like really exciting energy, which I shared with you guys on the 100th episode as well. It's kind of like all of us are just picking up this new like vibration, and it's just so amazing to experience. So I'm at this wedding shower, and this is what starts to happen when you get into business and it's in true alignment with who you are. You will just have random conversations with people. So, a lot of these people I haven't seen for years, because of COVID, quarantine, whatever. And then like also just life. Like before that I was, in school, and I went to school pretty far away. So a lot of these people I haven't seen, like some for, maybe 7+ years. And I end up getting seated with an old friend of mine, but also like my family. We're just all really good friends. And we just start chatting, right? It ends up only being my mom, this other lady, and me at the table. So there was like no other distracting conversations. And we just started to talk about a business that she's looking to start, which she just has such a great entrepreneurial mind to begin with. And the more we talked about the business, like the more exciting I could feel her getting and me getting for her. And it's like all good vibes. My mom's like excited, like everybody's feeling good. We're at this great wedding shower. And then she takes a few minutes, like, as we're playing these wedding shower games. And, the day's kind of starting to wrap up before we open the presents and like move on with the rest of our day. And she asks me, which I get asked this question pretty frequently, but I don't think I've always had the greatest answer. She asks me, what do you do when you kind of hit this like paralysis of overwhelm and scarcity that comes up? Like, you guys will see this on my post if you go check it out on Instagram, but I mention a lot of what comes up for us. Like, a lot of us get into business, right, because we want freedom and we want money. Most of the time, and to help people. We'll throw that in there because that's most of the time extremely important to us intuitives and, people that want to be of service. But a lot of it boils down to this freedom, right? And a lot of that might even piggyback off of helping people, right? Freedom and helping people kind of go hand in hand for me because you can do it in the most intuitive way, right? And you're not like following somebody else's rules to help people. You're following your own and theirs, right? So I get this question from her, and what's so funny is a few days earlier, I was actually driving up to an event in the middle of Pennsylvania, and I listened to this podcast, and she talks about this. So luckily I had this knowledge going into this conversation that I'm having with this, adult friend of mine, where definitely like connected souls, we've just always had a great connection when it comes to like friendships and just supporting each other. And I said to her, a few days ago, I was actually listening to a podcast, which I'm going to link the podcast below for you guys, and I'll explain what the podcast is after this. But it boils down to this fact of you can combat scarcity with hope. When I shared that with her, she was like, oh my gosh, okay, how do you do that? So I'm going to tell you guys this part right now, and then we can talk about the stories afterwards. So when you start to think about your scarcity, right, it really just tends to be a thought pattern where we go down all of the possible ways everything could go wrong, right? And that's programming in all of us, which you guys have heard me talk about endlessly, which is ancestral, right? It's all a part of evolution. It's supposed to save us, right, from anything bad happening. Like if we were out in the woods hunting still, that thought process might benefit us. Or it might not, right? Because we have to go get food and we have to eat. So there's a sense of reality and like necessity that comes into that thought process when you're out in the wilderness fighting for your life that makes you continue forward with the task at hand, right? Maybe you just proceed with caution, people might say. But in today's modern society, when we stick with that scarcity thought loop, it gives us this paralysis. It gives us this overwhelm because we don't know what to do with that thought. We don't know how to combat that thought by literally saying, well, like I have to put food on the table. Some of us might if they're at that point with their mindset, but a lot of us, before we even get to that point, like all these other mindset blocks are coming up where it's like, well, what will people think? What if this business never works out? Especially if we already have other streams of income, like a full-time job where we don't have to push ourselves, right, as hard. We might just fall back onto that instead of challenging these scarcity thought loops, which is what I loved about her asking me this question to begin with. So once you think about your scarcity thought loop, you're thinking about all the things that could possibly go wrong. People are going to talk about me. People are going to make fun of me. People aren't going to agree with my point of view. People are going to think I'm crazy. That's what I have all the time. People are going to think I'm bad shit crazy, right? People are going to literally write me off, and people aren't going to want to talk to me anymore because of how I'm approaching my business and my life. And right, okay, some of that might be true, but do we really care? Like, do we really, really care about all of that? If we're following what we truthfully believe and we're helping people and we're making an impact on the world, how we want to leave our footprint, does it really matter then, like what other people think? No, right? So that's that little bit of hope. And then you start to think to yourself, what about all of the times when you felt extreme scarcity, worry, overwhelmed with money? And think about what's normally happened, right? I know for me, it's almost always worked out. I've almost always, if not always, found a way to make it work, found a way to overcome that, found a way to live again peacefully, wonderfully. Like all the worst case scenarios I thought of never happened, right? So if that's your experience as well, isn't this something that we could just start to think about as we're thinking about this scarcity, to change our mindset into hope? And I'm going to give you guys the example that JJ Virgin, she's the interview that Lewis House did on this topic. And you guys, she has a crazy story. And it's so funny. I've shared with you guys before, I believe, like my best friend fell and had a serious brain injury. And that's actually what the topic of this episode is on, like how she overcomes one of the most tragic events in her life. Her son is hit by a car. He's given, a 0.25% chance of living. And she's in the middle of a book launch, actually. So, like, she's a very successful entrepreneur. And she has this book launch coming up. So, like, imagine all of that, right? Life literally is like something's happening, right? Something's trying to draw your attention on some level. And it's like, how do I even function, right? How do I even move forward? Like, that amount of overwhelm is almost like too much for my brain to comprehend, right? Like, that's just crazy. And that's what Lewis basically ends up saying to her at one point in the interview. He's like, so how did you move forward, right? Like, how do you even get up out of bed and like be there for your family and be there for your book launch, and all your editors and your, supporters are trying to get a hold of you, and you're on calls and you have to do phone interviews and in-person interviews, right? Like, the list goes on and on and on. And she says, well, when we were given our 0.5% chance, like my other son was like, okay, we'll take those odds. So the way they combated all of this scarcity, all of this worry, all of this overwhelm was hope. They clung to hope, the hope that her son would wake up, the hope that her son would be okay again, right, to at least live, and they would be able to persevere through this and give themselves hope. And she talks about all the other times in her career that she has overcome issues in the past, right, and outlived those problems and, flourished through a lot of overwhelm and tragedy in her life. And she gives herself that hope. She tells herself those stories instead of telling herself all of the things that could have gone wrong. And let me tell you guys, there was a laundry list of what could have gone wrong with her son, and they decided to look at hope and focus on the hope. And guess what? He lived. And I won't tell you guys the rest of the story. You can go check out the episode. There is a lot more that she shares on brain injuries, and it's all very, very interesting. But I just loved that piece that she mentioned. And because I listened to that episode, and then I get this conversation with, this friend of mine, I'm able to give her a little bit of that information. And what's even more uncanny, which again, I can't share all of this with you guys just yet, but recently I have signed on with 2 developers to help me with my business and my back end. And you guys know your girl over here is terrible with software. Like, you guys, I had to have somebody build out like my entire website and the entire back end of my business literally when I was in year 1, because I could not figure out how to work this crap. Like, I am not the girl to come to when it comes to software and systems. I hate them. I literally hate them. So my systems have never been, adaptable for like how my business has grown thus far and all of that. So I really needed this. And the reason why I'm sharing this part of the story with you guys is because I was literally like calling this in, right? Like I'm getting leads for my business. I am unable to keep up with everything. I feel overwhelmed, right? I'm feeling this scarcity. And I ended up just saying to the universe, like, please send me someone to help me with this. And, whatever ends up happening, like basically surrendering to the outcome. And within 24 hours, I literally got an email from someone that I connected with months ago who I think very highly of. They are extremely, extremely amazing, successful women. They approach business exactly how I do. It's so in alignment. And they help people build out their back end and basically automate through systems and things like that. And I was like, oh my God, like I literally just put this out there and it comes back to me like tenfold, and these opportunities are unfolding for me, and I'm helping people like along the way. And it felt like all of this happening at once is now allowing me to like step into this hope, like almost like I'm shedding a skin of like snake skin. If you guys have ever seen that, like I'm shedding this old scarcity skin, which I'm currently still in the process of. And I'm stepping into this new me of like hope skin. Like I am just relishing in hope instead of scarcity. And I can't even tell you guys how beautiful and amazing this feels. I didn't even know that this feeling was possible on this earth. Like I grew up in so much scarcity and so much drama around finances and money and safety, right? Because I'm a highly sensitive, so I naturally always felt unsafe with those things occurring in my life. And now I don't feel any of that, or at least I don't feel it on a daily basis. And it's like huge for me. I might not even feel it on a weekly basis, which is like mind blowing for me. And I know you all experience this fear and overwhelm because starting a business feels that intense at times, right? Like what I shared with you about my friend that we met at the shower. She was like, I literally get paralysis. Like that was me, and I know that that's a lot of you too. And I want to validate your feelings and the emotions that you're feeling because I have felt them too. And it's so intense. And at times you feel like you're going to like die, like when you're putting out a video. And if we can start to step into this hopeful mindset and shed that scarcity skin, like, wow, you guys, like this is like, I honestly, I'm being so honest and real with you guys. Like I never thought that this was possible. I just want all of you to feel this, and I want every single person to feel this because we as humans innately deserve this feeling. Every single one of you, because you're doing so much work on yourself and you're putting in the time to listen to this podcast and you're coming back and you're doing more work, right? And trying to figure out the next solution to your problem. Allow the solution to come to you. Maybe this is part of the solution. Maybe this mindset shift is a piece of the solution to your puzzle. If that resonates with you, like, please let me know. And if it doesn't resonate with you, please also let me know. Like, this show is for you guys. And again, I just want you all to feel this amazing, profound sense of peace. Because instead of acting from the scarcity, like I'm even seeing my reactions change now, right? Like I know I've shared this with you guys before, and the level of awarenesses that occur when you start on your healing journey can start at any point, right? It really depends where we're all at in life going into it. But a lot of what would happen to me at first was like awareness around like how I was making others feel, or like using other people's reactions to kind of snap me back into the present, especially when I was operating from a place of scarcity where I really didn't know how I was responding, right? Because I was just kind of like responding off of instinct instead of processing, then responding. And now, like, I can just respond because I trust and know that my response is going to be the right response, and allowing these thoughts to come rather than like keeping everything at bay, like this controlling sense of me, that perfectionist self, right? I won't ramble anymore on this topic, but first off, for our first solo episode, after, our 100th episode, it was really important to me to share this story with you guys. I just feel like it's so timely. I know how many of you are struggling with money blocks right now, personal development blocks, mindset blocks, they even go beyond money, right? And I just want you to know that there is hope for you. And that, hopefully this podcast can be a part of that, bringing to light, right? Some of these things, that's what my goal is, of the end in mind. And I am here for you guys. If you are struggling, please reach out to me. I want to be a resource. I am here to support you. That's what this show, that's what this community is for. And I just love you guys so, so much. I am going to see you next week. We have another lovely guest episode coming for you guys. Stephanie is so lovely. I know you guys are just going to love her. So I will see you guys then. Thank you so much for listening to The End in Mind. I would like to remind you all, if you haven't yet reached out to me on Instagram, we are at Meraki_media_management. It will be in our show notes as well. If you would like to reach out to me, we always offer free coaching through Instagram based around our Instagram training and our business Instagram practices. If you need any type of support, please do not hesitate to reach out to me there. And we also offer several different types of consulting and training packages if you're looking for a little bit more in-depth tips. So thank you all for listening in, and of course I want you all to keep the end in mind as you continue with your day and or work week. Have a great week, and I will see you all next time.